Kuzuzampo, welcome to Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program with me, Sonam Pem. Our top stories this week. His Majesty the King grants audience to the first ever Bhutanese contingent being deployed for UN peacekeeping operations. Former CSI board director and a contractor sentenced for bribery. And Agriculture Ministry trying to export high-value farm produce to international markets. His Majesty the King granted an audience to the first ever Bhutanese contingent being deployed for the United Nations peacekeeping operations at Shaba in Paro on Monday. The contingent of 180 personnel from the Royal Bhutan Army is expected to begin their assignment in September. At the request of the UN, Bhutan is contributing a light quick reaction force to support the multi-dimensional integrated stabilization mission for the Central African Republic. The contingent has undergone the required pre-deployment trainings. A recce team from the RBA visited the location to assess the overall security environment and task assigned to Bhutan in preparation for the deployment. Addressing the contingent, His Majesty said, "The deployment is a milestone in a new era of Bhutan's development journey in which Bhutan is now able to contribute to global peace." Bhutan began participating in the UN peacekeeping in 2014 by contributing military observers, staff officers and individual police officers. With less than a month left for the country to reopen its tourism gates, relevant agencies in the capital have come together to clean and beautify the city. However, they have found that overflowing sewers and litters discarded everywhere in the city have gone overboard. They say unless every person imbibes a civic sense or shoulders the responsibility, these problems will never be put to rest.
Thimphu, Bhutan Red Cross Society and Desoups are making sure that the capital city, which usually welcomes the highest number of tourists, looks clean and beautiful. They are painting the road parapets and markers and collecting garbage within the city. Apart from these works, they are planting flowers and clearing unpleasant-looking bushes. Despite all these efforts to give a facelift to the town, overflowing manholes along the roads and throwing wastes in open spaces remains a challenge. The recent sewerage overflow near the Bhutan Telecom Junction at Chubachu is an unsolved issue for many years now.
It has been many years now. The bad smell is torturing us. I have a small restaurant and I don't get many customers. The ones that come don't stay for long. They complain about the bad smell from the septic tank leakages. People always complain about the bad smell. I have stayed here at Chubachu for over 3 years. The septic tank leakage is not a new thing now. It has been like this for the past few years. I have a small shop just nearby and it is very difficult to live there because of the bad smell.
According to Thimphu, overflowing of sewers and their blockages are due to the careless flushing of sanitary pads, wretched cloth pieces, and debris directly into manhole chambers. One of the stakeholders involved in revamping the city, the Bhutan Red Cross Society, said people still lack the common sense of managing their own wastes.
We tried cleaning the Coronation Park, but our efforts went in vain. Since many people are gathering there, the place is left as it is after we cleaned.
So when we open this country to tourism, we want to welcome them and make this country a clean and green one. After every cleaning campaign we conduct, after a few days, it is again littered and back to square one.
From the Tromde's side, they have informed and sensitized people through social media to refrain from flushing things that would block the sewer lines and take responsibility to handle the wastes. They have also installed CCTV cameras in various locations to discourage people from disposing wastes illegally. According to the National Solid Waste Inventory Survey of 2019, Thimphu generates the highest amount of wastes in the country. Therefore, if people inculcate civic sense and have collective responsibility, these persistent problems can be addressed for once and all. Sringdandup, BBS News.
The Tourism Council of Bhutan says it has prepared a draft of the tourism rules and regulations. According to the TCB's Director General, they are currently discussing it with relevant stakeholders. The Council is hoping to finalize the rules and regulations by the second week of September.
The tourism draft rules and regulations is under discussion, and in fact, as of now, this is to be seen only by the concerned stakeholders and agencies and organizations that we have circulated, and it was not supposed to be in the public domain, but however it is in the public domain, so in a way, well, it was not right, but I think at the same time it is very useful because we could still see some very useful comments on that, and it gives us further opportunity to rediscuss maybe some of the provisions that has been highlighted in the comments, and then finally this will be put it up to the cabinet and get it indoors. So this is
It was COVID then, and this time it's the strict regulations. More than 70 entertainment businesses in Thimphu, including karaoke's, nightclubs and live music bars, have been closed down by the Thomde since last Friday. The business owners say they have been told it's for failing to meet certain standards.
More than 40 business owners gathered at the Thomde office in hopes of having their closure notices cancelled. They met with the Thompe and pleaded their case, but it was not entertained. According to the Bhutan Karaoke and Live Music Association, the business owners have been given till the end of November to complete the alterations or missing facilities pointed out by the Thomde. Some of them have also been fined for not complying with the activities allowed for their licenses. The association's president said the owners were notified earlier of the Thomde's new SOP and told to make the changes according to it. However, he said they were shocked to receive the news today that all businesses would have to be closed for the next 3 months.
ELC team ki monitoring ki khatule teda standard technical the kongi khatule SOB chi set bedigi bedu tanda chiga thik digi be zogo be danja ngachi luka debe na dese shunila so ngachi khatule zodira da digi be yuise shunila diga khon jumta kachi sunde so wachin chachi khon sigin the inspection oni tandalu machambachin da kongi action take benisimi ani kan sunsumila anda chiga thik digi be ta ngachi gi da ma zoi disu zodigi be ta dari be kan de ngachi gi kero ki semisu te da dausum gi din do suspend ani pha suspend be go be bodam shago be imbe se shunin
te dari ngachi Bhutan association karuki gi ngachi group pe na Thomdigi office na chai la ta shulu de darile nyamchu be go mi yude perwe ngachi gi shadu chi shuge se ngachi lu shadu de be na na me se ngachi shungi lamru ta tundi be o se dile ma be chinde bodam di perwe shungi lamru ta tundi ngachi gi bege se dalu te ta shu thombi gi sada pule se ma to shuge la
yale chue male chue be pole ati nyukube chusu mena pole bombera chude se shudila ta london ma thop a ta shul la be tuini gi wase chi thong se tuini gi kokap chi thong se no be ngachi gi be se shudola ta di ta tari zumi netang na hubi gale de ta di tuini di gyura imbe se shugela te josu chi bera te ta to ngachara na thumdigi isanale te thimsu gapang be te ane bedo sombera te ngache jobara ngachi go khai huni gi nya kha bomdu se shugela pha kapshira tab ma subi gale te ju josi de thusi sa go chinara imbe se shugela.
Speaking to BBS, Thompe Ugendoji said he would be making a statement on the issue on a later date. For Karmaongdi, this is Tanden Phunso for BBS News.
A former board director of the National CSI Development Bank and a contractor were sentenced to 3.5 years each in prison for bribery. The Thimphu District Court passed the judgment recently. The former board director Tsong Tashi and contractor Samtin were convicted of bribery surrounding the Samrang Poultry Farm project in Samrujongkhar. Seong Tashi, who served as the Agriculture Ministry's planning officer, accepted 1 million nyutam from Samtin as a bribe in 2016.
As the planning officer of the Agriculture Ministry, Seong Tashi was found to have shared the plans of establishing a poultry farm in Samrang with Samtin a year before the project was tendered out. According to the judgment, Samtin, with the help of an international organization, researched the type of farm details Seong Tashi provided him. Bribing Sewang, Samtin was able to win the tender to establish the poultry farm. The Office of the Attorney General also charged Sewang Tashi with a false asset declaration that concealed profit from a youth business cooperative where he invested funds. However, the court found that he loaned money to the cooperative without interest and the amount he received was only the principal amount. The court also stated that the amount he loaned to the cooperative was borrowed from his relatives in the US. The court also dismissed the charge against Tsawangtashi of possessing unexplained wealth with funds deposited in 4 different accounts. Tsawang was able to prove that funds accumulated in his accounts were sent by relatives residing in the US and from his earnings from foreign training. Meanwhile, the ACC is also investigating another case involving Tsawangtashi, where he, as the chairman of the board credit committee of the CSI Bank, took part in sanctioning a 5 million loan to his son for a meat processing unit. Kilidim for BBS News.
2 years on since the Wupthang Organic Wonders was initiated, people of Tanggyok in Bomthang are now questioning its ownership and the benefit it has to the community. People raised their concerns to the Prime Minister during his visit to the Gyok last month. The former opposition leader Pema Jamso founded the vegetable farm on state land, which was traditionally occupied by Tang people as pasture land. The farm is also yet to acquire the land on lease.
During the meeting with the Prime Minister, some villagers asked if the farm is owned by the government or privately owned by the former opposition leader. They also said that the farm hasn't had much impact on the development of Tang community. People said they assumed that the farm is a joint venture between the Prime Minister and the former opposition leader.
It would have been appropriate if they had consulted the public when the farm was established. Moreover, the Prime Minister and the former opposition leader should have considered providing the community with some sort of dividend from the profits. It has been a couple of years now that the farm has been running, but there's not much benefit to the people. Most of the people don't publicly share their views, that's why they ask us to raise their concern.
When the former opposition leader visited the site and asked the Sokpas if the land should be kept as it is or be transformed for other activities, my Sokpa friends and I told him that if it were for the benefit of the people, a change would be helpful to the community. Otherwise, we said we would be blamed by the people. However, we are yet to see a tangible result from the farm, though the opposition leader might have set it up with a positive motive.
The Prime Minister clarified that the farm is not a government-owned project. He said that his office only provided some monetary support with the understanding that the farm is going to repay the amount in kind by supplying vegetables to nearby boarding schools.
This is a purely private initiative headed by Pema Jamso, which was supported by me personally. I was able to gather around 3 million miltrum and give it to him in 2 packages. Then I received a letter from the Royal Audit Authority last year asking me how I am going to settle it. I told the auditor that this is an understanding between the head of the government and the former opposition leader, and there's nothing suspicious in it whatsoever. That's how I cleared the audit memo.
The Wupthang Vegetable Farm's manager Ugen Namge said the former opposition leader, who currently works in Nepal, will visit the country next month to solve the land lease issue and formulate a bylaw for the farm's operation. He also said that the farm is yet to make any profit and is struggling to sell its produce. He added that the farm was able to employ people on daily wages and the amount provided by the Prime Minister's office has been fully spent on labor and tractor hiring charges to the locals. Today, the farm occupies over 45 acres of land. 30 acres of it is used to grow potatoes. There are 9 polyhouses growing chilies, tomatoes and carrots. The farm was established during the pandemic to complement the government's food security initiatives. Several agencies under the Agriculture Ministry provided machinery and technical support when it was being developed. For Kipchu in Bomthang, Kyaljang Choden, BBS News.
By next year, Bhutan is expected to have 3 new varieties of tomatoes. This is to curb imports and achieve tomato self-sufficiency in the country through the Tomato Variety Development Project. Funded by the Asian Food and Agriculture Cooperation Initiative, the project is a part of developing vegetable varieties in Asia.
Tomatoes are one of the most imported food items in the country. In 2020, tomatoes worth more than 1.6 million yultrum were brought in, the highest imported vegetable that year. But this could soon change. Under the Asian Food and Agriculture Cooperation Initiative, Bhutan is aiming to become self-sufficient in tomatoes. At the meeting, Bhutan also made its presentation on the project to develop tomato varieties. Beginning 2019, the National Center for Organic Agriculture acquired 50 seeds for free from the World Vegetable Center that were screened and evaluated. From that, 7 have been selected. The final selection of the 3 best tomato seeds will be based on their resistance to pest and climate change.
After selecting the 3 samples, we will further we will put it in the variety releasing committee, and we are hopeful that these 3 best varieties will be released by the committee, variety releasing committee of the Ministry of Agriculture, and further this will be given to the seed center.
The Department of Agriculture identified tomatoes as one of the priority crops in the country besides chilies and onions.
At the moment, we are focusing on tomato variety development because tomato varieties are hardly good in our country. We have only 2 varieties, that is Roma and Ratan. Now these varieties have degenerated, and this project focuses on developing the varieties to give our farmers the best varieties in their field.
14 member countries will present their projects related to food security and share ideas to achieve food sufficiency during the meeting. The 3-day conference ends on Wednesday. Kelsam Traden, BBS News.
Bhutan is looking at diversifying the export market by exporting high-value products with high demand. One of the destinations the Agriculture Ministry is trying to export the products is to the 14 member countries of the Asian Food and Agriculture Cooperation Initiative. The idea was proposed during the 6th General Assembly of the initiative, which ended recently.
The Agriculture Ministry has identified 5 crops as priority crops based on nutritional value and demand and potential for export. The 5 priority crops for export are quinoa, ginger, azuki beans, buckwheat and turmeric. Bhutan recently exported close to 2 tons of ginger, millet and turmeric to Malaysia on trial. In addition, the country also sent samples of azuki beans, quinoa and buckwheat to Japan in an attempt to explore markets. Now the Agriculture Ministry is looking at whether these priority crops can be exported to member countries of the Asian Food and Agriculture Cooperation Initiative. During the 6th General Assembly of the initiative, the Agriculture Ministry sought the support of the member countries to help increase production and improve productivity, value addition, and market access for these crops.
Some are very much advanced in the agriculture sector, some are advanced in livestock sector. So for Bhutan, I think we wanted to take the opportunity of getting collaboration with those countries, exchange our ideas, do the certain production, value chain, marketing within these countries also, so that I think what we are aiming for in terms of the transformation can be achieved.
According to the Agriculture Ministry, Bhutan produces significant amount of these organic crops every year, which the domestic market cannot absorb. Moreover, not many Bhutanese can afford the crops, as some of them are priced high. As per data with the ministry, the country produces about 2 tons of quinoa, 200 tons of buckwheat, 300 tons of ginger, and over 100 tons of turmeric every year.
For the external export, we are trying to prioritize because we will not be able to sell everything. So we wanted to focus on those products which has again high value and high demand in other countries. We are looking at products like quinoa, products like turmeric, products like beans which has high value.
Besides Bhutan, the 14 other member countries of the initiative are Bangladesh, Cambodia, Laos People's Democratic Republic, Indonesia, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, Myanmar, Nepal, Philippines, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Vietnam, Korea and Uzbekistan. Gyalzang Chodin, PBS News.
Farmers of Bali Chiwok in Punakha are worried the human-wildlife conflict is worsening in their Chiwok, threatening their food security. Unlike past years, this time an increasing number of wild boars are destroying paddy crops during the maturing season. Earlier, the animals would ravage the crops only around the harvesting season. Farmers are spending sleepless nights guarding the rice fields, but to no avail.
Enduring the scorching heat, 40-year-old Namgidem is collecting rice plants which have been destroyed by the wild boars a day or two ago. She says her husband visits their farms several times before hitting the sack at the end of each day. Still, the wild boars manage to destroy the crops. Most of the paddy fields in the Chiwok lack proper fencing system to protect crops from the wild animals. Namge feels the human-wildlife conflict is worsening since they live quite far from their farms.
When I returned to the field in the morning to fetch some grass for my cattle, I found that wild boars had badly damaged my paddy plants. So I think it will be difficult for us to have enough food if the situation worsens every year.
The predicament is similar for her neighbors who say the issue has become severe this time.
Wild boars had again eaten my paddy plants last night. I had some of the best quality paddy plants. I think the situation is severe this year. It was somehow manageable until last year. But now the animals are not even scared of us.
In the earlier days, wild boars used to damage our crops only during the harvest time. But this time, they came early to destroy our crops. Shouting and visiting the fields at nights are not effective in warding off the animals. So I'm making a temporary shelter in the fields where I'll spend the nights to protect our crops.
The Chiwok also doesn't have electric fences unlike other villages. Farmers believe this could also be encouraging wild boars to come in droves to their rice crops.
It would be better if our fields are enclosed with electric fences to protect the crops from the animals. Otherwise, there is no way we can prevent them from entering our fields, especially when they come in groups.
We'd be happy if we could get electric fencing. Likewise, I think chain link fencing will be effective too.
The Gyok says most farmers in the Chiwok prefer chain link fences, which is not possible at the moment. The Agriculture Ministry is still studying the usefulness of this fencing system, so only some villages in other districts received it on a trial basis. Rice is a staple crop for more than 30 households in the Chiwok. For Chengadoji in Punakha, this is Pemal Haddon, BBS News.
Even after 2 rounds of by-elections this year, Pangthang Chiwok in Pemagasil is still without a Thokpa. As a result, a lot of developmental activities have been delayed in the Chiwok. Serving as a bridge between the Gyok and Chiwok, a Thokpa is important for planning developmental activities. Pangthang under Chimung Gyok is the only Chiwok in Pemagasil without a Thokpa. There were 2 candidates contesting for the post during the second round of by-elections in May this year. However, both of them were disqualified. One had not completed the cooling period after deregistering with the political party, while the other candidate was still a registered member of a party. Currently, the Gyok Mangmi is officiating as the Chiwok's Thokpa.
We must go through a Thokpa even to get a signature on the documents. And without one, it's been difficult. If we have a Thokpa, we can discuss issues and make pleas through him or her, who will then take the issues to the Gyok. But without a Thokpa, we haven't been able to do this.
Pangthang Chiwok has a lot of developmental activities, including the construction of a farm road that needs attention. But in the absence of a Thokpa, all these activities have been delayed, and as a result, we are getting left behind.
However, with a few aspiring candidates wishing to contest for the post, the Geok has requested the Election Commission to conduct an election. The Geok is expecting to hear from the Commission soon. For Chiledoji in Pemagasal, Sunam Pem for BBS News. That's all for this week. Thank you for joining us.